Hey guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and it's time for the review of September's Stack of 5 winner, Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. So Born Wicked does get a thumbs up, but it's not the most enthusiastic thumbs up I've ever given a book, and here's why. I did like this. It was engaging and very fast-paced, very quick read. And it was one of those books where even when some things are foregone conclusions and you pretty much know what's going to happen, you still kind of want to see it happen. You want to see how it turns out even though you kind of know. It worked and I had fun reading it. I like the world that Spotswood set up with the Brotherhood and it being very oppressive and very sort of rigorously anti-female. The very severe religion and sort of paranoia and suspicion of people, things like that I thought really worked. Some things in it were maybe a little harder to believe. I don't want to spoil what those things were, so I'm not going to get too into that, but some things were a little convenient, I'll just say. But despite that, I mean, it still was a concrete world. I could see it, I could relate to these characters within it, so that really did work for me. But my complete enjoyment of the book was held back a little bit by two things. The first being that it definitely has a tendency toward cliché, and the second being the main character. So for that first thing, I don't want to say that it was completely right by the numbers, but in some ways it did feel like that. Again, it's that predictability, you know what's going to happen, and everything just seems a little too placed and a little too obvious, I guess. Pretty much from the moment a character stepped onto the page, you knew their place in the story, and that's because it feels like it's been done. You know, we get used to these tropes, and that's how they become cliche. So when you keep using those tropes or you keep using those same patterns, you're gonna take claims of lack of originality. Now, there were some twists and there were some ways that things were changed up that did make it work for me, but it's just, I think if you've read more than a handful of paranormal YA, this is gonna feel predictable to you. The other thing that kind of held back my enjoyment just a little bit was the main character, Cate. And this is a little bit of a trickier one for me to kind of describe. Maybe some of you will relate to this and some of you won't. But you know how sometimes you have those characters or those people in real life who want to prove that they're not just another girl, so everything they do is kind of a backlash against girliness and sort of a pat on the back at the same time for not being girly and feminine and predictable. Cate has a little bit of that in her. Those girls who refuse to like pink even though they secretly like pink, or won't wear dresses, or say they're one of the guys and they're more comfortable with guys and they can't have girlfriends because girls are catty. All of those things that sort of perpetuate the ridiculous and obnoxious stereotypes of women. Anything that kind of screams femininity, they shun. And you know, it's fine if you're a tomboy, it's fine if you like sports and want to climb trees, but you can actually like pink too. Taking yourself out of one box and refusing to like anything in that box is just putting you in another box. You know, I would much rather you be yourself. And Cate, I think, falls into some of those traps where she's very judgmental of the other girls around her and kind of sneering about it. Just because they like things that you don't doesn't mean they're less than you. Just because they like pink and you don't doesn't mean they're less than you. And it doesn't mean that you're some special magical woman because you've escaped all of the things that people think makes you a woman. Just because they want to limit you in that way doesn't mean you have to limit yourself in another way. Be yourself. So it's not that she's a completely anti-feminine girl. She's not. She has her girly moments. But there's just some of this sneering tone that she has sometimes in relation to other girls, and the way she kind of sets herself up as better than them, kind of looking down on them. Not to an extreme. I don't think she even realizes that she's doing it, but it's just this streak that really didn't sit well with me, and that I think was probably a conscious effort on Spotswood's part to set Cate apart, you know, to make her not just another girl, but what she ended up doing was making her just a less likable one. Now, it's not that I didn't still root for Cate, and eventually I did kind of grow to like her, but in the beginning she was really putting me off, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves. People that try to set themselves up at the expense of others, or don't realize how much of their own personality they're stifling in the attempt to be other. It just doesn't sit well with me. And I think part of the reason is because it's this sort of self-deluded pat on the back that you're more capable and confident than those other people that like anything obvious or mainstream, when really it's just highlighting what a lack of confidence you have, that you can't just like what you like. I don't know. It's just always something that's kind of bothered me, and so I think Cate kind of suffered for that, for it being, you know, hitting on one of my biggest pet peeves. So that did kind of knock my enjoyment of the book back a bit, but as I said, it does eventually kind of either fade into the background or I just got used to it and accepted it as who Cate is. She's kind of judgmental. And it's fine. Not every character needs to be perfect and exactly what I want them to be. They can be flawed. Hopefully they'll learn from it and grow, but maybe they won't, and I guess if I read the rest of the series I'll find out. I do see Cate kind of learning from her mistakes a bit. She's still pretty flawed at the end of things. And maybe that's something that comes with her power. She is very, very powerful, which again hits back to that cliche thing. She is, you know, potentially the subject of a prophecy, and it's just, of course she is, of course. It gets a little old, but all that said, I still really did enjoy it. It was a very quick read. I didn't ever feel like, you know, throwing it. Once I got over that initial sort of hump with Cate, it was very engaging and I didn't really want to put it down, and it was very quick, as I said. I'm curious enough with the way it ended to see where it goes in book 2. There was enough there that appealed to me that I think Spotswood's writing is likely to grow and really win me over even more. So it does still get its thumbs up, but, you know, there are just those little things that I wanted more from. And I think I tend to judge things the most harshly when I see the potential in them to be better and to go beyond, you know, what they did, rather than just sort of resting on their laurels. So potential means I'll definitely read book 2, and I would recommend it if you like paranormal YA, if you like historical stories or alternate universes, which this is. It's an alternate timeline. Things like that, I would certainly recommend it. That is what I thought of Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. All the info and links to the book can be found below. Thank you guys for picking it in my stack of 5. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you have reviewed Born Wicked, feel free to link it up as a video response or drop a link in the comments if you're watching this on the blog. Or if you've just read it but not reviewed it, please share your thoughts in the comments. That is all for this Stack of 5 review. October actually had 2 Stack of 5 winners, so if you want to know what those are, make sure you check out my October TBR. And that is all for now. As always, thanks for watching and happy reading!